It's finally here, guys. Tomorrow, breeding season starts. I have 3 girls that are going in with flu, and I'm super excited. Why am I excited? Baby goats, guys. Are you excited? I hope you guys are excited. But what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna show you what we're going to do for our does to make sure that they're ready to go in with the buck tomorrow. So that's gonna be a little bit of maintenance. I'll explain to you why we're doing that specific maintenance. And I think I'm changing my stance on the age to start breeding my does. So we'll have that to go over too. You guys stick around, it's gonna be interesting. So we're gonna start off here in my milking slash feed slash supplies room. So you can see I've got the head stall behind me, already armed with grain. I'm going to bring in 3 girls. Ooh, it's creepy. I hope I don't have a ghost in my barn. But the reason that I'm only bringing in 3 girls out of like the 15 goats that I have that are of breeding age this year, I'm going to be doing my breeding in specific groups. This is gonna help me time out my babies as well as not have 15 goats all kidding at one time where I don't sleep for like a week. Because guys, it's not pretty. You don't wanna see that. So I'm actually gonna be starting off with Mossy, Willow, and Pearl. So I think it'll be nice to start off our season with experienced does that know what's going on, can go through the motions, and I'm not too worried about struggling with labor like I would for a first-time freshener. And the second reason that I chose these specific girls, Mossy, Willow, and Pearl, all have proven to me that they can be milked for 4 to 5 months plus and hold good capacity and not try to dry up on me. I actually had to work to dry those girls up. And the reason that's important is a lot of these girls will be used in ADGA shows or 4-H shows for my daughter. And because they're dairy goats, they have to be in milk. A lot of the judging for those specific shows is based around their mammary system and how well they're put together. So I can help them with the mammary system, but in order for them to come into milk, they have to be bred. So that's why we're getting ready for our breeding season here on Mulberry Branch Farm. I can't wait to bring you guys along. And after I'm done showing you our routine with one of our does, I'm actually going to be bringing in 3 junior does. I think I'm going to change up my age for breeding, guys. I've done a lot of reading and I've taken a lot of advice from other more experienced dairy breeders, and I think it's time that I change the way that I think. So that means we've got some 7 and 9 month olds by the time we do breed them that might be going through, but I need to go ahead and show you guys what our criteria is going to be for these girls to actually be candidates to be bred. So let's go ahead. I'm going to bring in Mossy first and show you what we're going to be doing with them. Good girl. Good girl. We give them a mani-pedi, like I said, not because we want them to impress the buck with their manicures or pedicures, but really it's kind of like a safety thing. So if you're going to be running track, you're probably not going to be wearing ill-fitting shoes or high heels. You're probably going to want to have nicely fitted and grippy shoes so that you can grip the ground that you're running on. So why am I preparing them to run? Do I want them to run for my buck? No, of course not. But when they go in there probably will be a little bit of sparring and running. Number 1, that's a new goat, and he's probably going to be really aggressive and start talking sweet nothings to them. So they're going to probably want to run away from him. I want to make sure that their hooves are in good shape so that they can move freely without having to worry if they're going to injure themselves. And also during mating, that's a lot of moving as well. So I need their feet to be in good condition to grip the ground, especially Mr. Flu, because he's going to be doing most of the work when it comes to breeding. But those are a couple of reasons why we make sure to pay attention to their hooves. It's really a safety thing, and a lot of the times these girls really like to run from the bucks too to see, are you a good mate? Can you run as long and hard as I can? Can you keep up with me? So it's kind of like them weeding out the weak. I gave them selenium and I gave them a probiotic. The selenium is an important mineral that we're very deficient here in Indiana, and the vitamin E, those minerals are really important to help her conceive and catch. If she were deficient, it could affect the way that she carries the baby and how the baby develops once it's been conceived. The probiotic is because tomorrow is going to be a little stressful, so I don't want to upset her rumen. The probiotic is good bacteria in the rumen. It's going to keep her feeling good and perky, because I don't want her to feel kind of icky or sluggish or sick to her stomach when I'm actually trying to put love in the air between the two. I'm actually going to grab 3 of our junior does. So I'm going to grab Sky, who was born in April, and I'm also going to grab Poco Loco and Merida. They were born in February, so they'll be over a year old when they kid. I plan to hopefully kid these guys, or I take it back. I plan to have them bred late December, early January, so that they get a little bit more time to develop and I can start pushing feed to flesh them out just a little bit. You don't want them to be too fat, but when they're small like that, you just want to make sure to give them enough nourishment. I'm going to pull these guys out because I want to do measurements on weight, and I also want to observe their hips. So I'll be trying to take my thumb and my index finger and ride it over the tail head and go thurl to thurl, kind of like this, to see if their hips are wide enough to safely pass a baby. If there's any doubt whatsoever, I will not breed them. I'll hold them off till next year. They can have a whole nother year to develop and become healthier and more adequately equipped to carry babies. But if they have wide enough hips, they make weight, they're in good condition, then they'll probably visit flu. So wish me luck, guys. Poco Loco and Merida don't like me. Well, it's not they don't like me, they just don't like to be touched by anybody. So I'm gonna try to get them first and take you along with me on that. So first for her, I'm actually going to take her weight. I want her to have good weight, good body condition, which is why I'm bringing my hand along her back to see if she's filled out. And I'm sorry that I'm out of breath, I had to catch her. And I'm fat and old, and she's a fast goat. So I'm checking her body condition along her backbone to see where she's at. She's got fat stores or she's underweight. I will be taking her weight, and I will also be examining her right here, thurl to thurl. So yeah, let's go ahead and take her weight first. That's the first thing. And she's almost 46 pounds. So for most Nigerians, I like to see them around 35 to 40 from everything that I've read, and going off more experienced breeders for Nigerians, 35 to 40 is where you're safe. So next, we need to examine her hips. I'm going to show you how I do that. So for her, I'm going to go over her tail head like this and go thurl to thurl, which are these little bones that are on each side of her little tail here. And I want to be able, I don't want there to be wiggle room. I don't want to have it to be like this. I kind of want it to be stretched out as far as I can. So here's thurl to thurl. I either like it to be pretty stretched, which I don't really have a lot of wiggle room right here, or wanting to have to go to find them. And I have does that are, honey, have you had the poopies? You've had the poopers, I'm sorry. If I can do this, that means that the birth canal, she should be able to pass a kid easily. And like I said, I'm going to be giving her Merida, or this is Merida. I'm going to be giving Merida, Poco Loco, and Sky until the end of December, early January, before I even think about putting them in with the buck, so that I can go ahead and feed them and flesh them out and give them a little bit more of a chance to grow and mature. Right now, I think she's good, and she's at a good size, so she's probably yes. She's probably yes, unless she gets sick or for some reason comes up with a heavy parasite load between now and then, in which case I want her to be in ample body condition to carry kids. I don't want it to stunt her, but she's been well fed and she's a good girl, so healthy, nice coat. So she's got the weight, she's got the width in her hips. So yeah, I don't see there being an issue with her. I'm really excited about this, guys. Here we have Poco Loco, which is Merida's sister. I'm going to go ahead and check her hips first, this time instead of the weight. So across the tail head up here. Oh, she's even wider than Poco. So she's a for sure. I don't have a lot of, I can't really do this. And it is like that. I'm really having to stretch to get to her. So I think she's good and ready. Let me do her weight. you are at 42 pounds. So she's a little bit lighter than Poco, but wider in the hips. Both are above that 35 to 40 pound range that I like, and both of their hips seem like they are good and wide. I think she's a definite yes. You guys can probably tell already, she's got wider hips, which Pinky kids flawlessly. So let's go ahead over the top. Oh yeah, there we go, thorough. I'm actually having to kind of move a little bit to touch from one to the other. So I'd say she's good and wide. Let's go ahead and get a weight on her as well. Well, it'd be helpful if I was doing it right. Yeah. Okay. So pounds are on the top. You are at a whopping 48. So anybody that's ever known me knows that usually I'm in the school of you never ever breed your goats until 2 years old. They'll be 2 like when they're actually kidding. So like I would probably breed around like 18, 19 months is where I would really start breeding them, depending. But these guys are just so healthy, and most healthy goats that are well bred do not have an issue making weight or having wide enough hips to breed within their first year. In the wild, they usually would breed pretty quickly. Most young does will come into heat. They can come into heat as early as like 3 to 4 months old. I've seen active heats. Doesn't mean they should be bred then if they're not in good condition, weight and width. I usually try to wait for the 7-month mark is where I'm going to start now, because then they'll be like right at 1 year when they kid, and that should give them enough developmental time. But if there's ever in your mind while you are trying to decide if your doeling or doe is actually old enough or healthy enough to be bred, if you're ever on the fence, it never hurts to hold off and let them develop a little bit more. Because if you're on the fence, odds are that goat's probably not in good condition or in a state of maturity, especially for these younger does, that you would actually want to risk them kidding. And the reason for that being is most first-time fresheners, whether it's market or dairy, have a tendency to carry a single kid. Now, Nigerian dwarfs can breed year-round, and they are notorious for having large litters of kids. 4 to 5 is not, it's not a weird number. That's pretty common, especially in Nigerian dwarfs. So if you have a single, especially if it's like a single buck kid, it's going to grow a lot bigger inside, and it might be a little bit hard for them to pass it through their hips if they're not developed enough. So that's something to really take into consideration when you're thinking about breeding these young doelings, is if they were to have like a large single kid, could they pass it unassisted? Because I don't want to do anything with my animals that's going to cause harm to them, where I might lose them, I might lose the kid. These guys, I know you guys are like our pets. You're like part of our family. Now they give us milk too, and they're an investment. So financially as well, I don't want to lose my financial investment. I don't want to lose something that could give my family milk and dairy products along with meat at some point if that need were ever to arise, or we would have to do that. But you're too cute. We would never do that with you. We would never do that with Sky. She's too cute. So that's just a couple of things to keep in mind when you're preparing to do breeding with your younger does. And now you know what we do here at Mulberry Branch Farm to prep our does for breeding. So now all that's left is to go to bed, wake up nice and early, and move Poseidon in with these girls. And you might think Poseidon's a buck. Well, I'm pretty sure Poseidon is sterile. He's been shooting blanks for a couple years now. I have yet to get any offspring off of him, but he's so well-tempered, I've decided to keep him on as a teaser buck. For those of you that don't know, teaser bucks are bucks that kind of just tell you when your girls are in the mood for love and when they're ready to accept their advances. So he'll be able to tell me who's in heat while I've got my groups mapped out with timelines, which I'll share with you tomorrow or in the next scene. Tomorrow for me, next scene for you. He will let me know when those girls are cycling. And if they're close enough to my groups and my dates, I'll go ahead and throw them in. But really, Flu's my main man. He's gonna be doing all of the hard work. So I'm gonna have to get up early, move Poseidon, put the girls in with Flu, and let them do what nature intended, which is a little bit of brown chicken, brown cow. So might get interesting. Not kid appropriate, probably. Another reason that I forgot to mention why I'm splitting my does up into small groups. Flu is not even a year old yet, so he's not a proven sire. We're hoping that he will break that stigma this year for us. But with him being a younger buck, sometimes younger bucks have a hard time covering a lot of does at one time. So this way, even though I'm sure he would love to have all of those girls in with him at one time, he can kind of pace himself, and I can keep him in better body condition by giving him only 3 at a time rather than all 15 where he's kind of losing his mind on who to breed. So I wanted to go ahead and give that little factoid, especially if you're new to goats and you've just started breeding and you've gotten your new herd sire and they're not yet proven and they're still pretty young. Pace them. If you can give him 1 girl or 2 girls at a time and spread out your kidding schedule, I really recommend doing that. That's the way we do it here, but of course there's more than one way to skin a cat. So make sure you do what works best for you and what works best for everybody else on your homestead. Woohoo! Breeding time! Uh-oh. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.